ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930 present The Drive. Brought to you by Huntington Federal Savings Bank. Local then, local now. Member FDIC.
Welcome into the Tuesday edition, The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. Thanks for tuning in. We're going to get your phone calls in this hour. We're going to get your text in as well. We'll take your tweets at Paul Swann on Twitter. We're going to do all of that. I got to disappoint you today. I don't have Christian Spears today. The guy's busy. Let's just go ahead and call it what it is. The guy is super busy. So he's been doing the rounds, and he's been trying to do everything that you want him to do. So if that means he can't be on the show, so something can happen that's going to benefit you as a fan base or benefit the university, that's fine. You know, he doesn't have to be here every week, but we're going to get him back in as soon as we can. I do appreciate when he does come in and he talks to me and talks to you. So that's the disappointing thing, but we've been pretty busy. Now, we don't have anyone today. We've got some Coach Huff sound bites. Wait one moment. I've been reminded that we did get it confirmed. Michael Swan is coming on the program, the head coach of the Marshall soccer team. So that has been confirmed to me by our producer. And the reason why he is coming on the program is because Kat Gonzalez has been called up by the Dominican Republic's women's soccer team, the national team. So she is going to join the roster for the 2023 World Cup qualifying matches. So that's huge. That's a big deal. So she's going to be qualifying with her national team. Hopefully they're going to advance. Coach is going to talk to us about that here in a little bit. So that's coming up 5:30. So we do have that confirmation. So Christian Spears is out. Michael Swan is in. Tomorrow on the program, Tony Kemper is going to join us, head coach of the Marshall women's team. I'm going to talk to him about some of the talent that he's been bringing in, how he's working the portal, just catch up with him. We will not be here on Thursday because we've got Pirates baseball. So it's an afternoon game, opening day on the road for the Pirates. So we've got that. And Friday we're clear. And then next week, I believe Tuesday we are not clear. We're going to have Pirates baseball. So for the first couple of weeks, it's going to be a hit or miss schedule just because we've got baseball. And of course, if there's a weather delay and the game gets rained out on Thursday, we're going to have to push that back to Friday. You know, it's baseball season, so weather is going to definitely have an impact on all of that. That's why all baseball teams should play in domes. Just play in domes. I know that's not realistic, but play in domes. Every football team, everything should be a dome. You can have an open air dome. That's fine. Everything should be a dome. Just have a cover. We can play. How many millions of dollars would that cost? Probably a lot, but put a roof over Jones C. Edwards Stadium, right? That's not going to happen. But I got plans. I have plans. I want to change things. I know I've got different ideas about how to change things over at Jones C. Edwards Stadium. I'm sure some of them would make sense. I'm sure others would be just me wanting things that I want. Like, for example, I think about things like, the seats. You need to pull the seats up. I think you need to take all the chair backs out. And I would chair back the entire stadium. You might lose some seating capacity, but I'm okay with that. I would chair back the stadium. Still stay within the required amount of seats you need, but I would chair back and I would make those seats more comfortable. I would go for quality instead of quantity. I would have more of an experience. You sit in your seat, oh, hey, this is pretty nice. I mean, now I'm not talking plush leather here. It's an outdoor stadium, but yeah, this is pretty nice seat. It's roomy. This is nice. I like this here. That's what I'm looking for. That's going to come up when we talk to Christian Spears next on the program. I don't know when that's going to be because, again, next week we got a couple of baseball days that are going to preempt us. So I'm hoping we can work him in sometime in the latter half of next week. But we're going to talk to Michael Swan, talk a little soccer. Speaking of soccer, tomorrow we're going to get an official announcement about men's soccer in the Sun Belt. Now, if you go back last week to the show with Chris Grass, he talks a little bit about that. So I'm sure this will be a continuation of that. Chris basically laid it out for us. You're going to have the teams that were associate members in Conference USA. It sounds like they're going to be members of the Sun Belt, so that means Marshall, West Virginia. That continues. South Carolina, Kentucky. Then you're going to have the teams that have men's soccer coming in, and the teams that have men's soccer but don't have a men's conference home in the Sun Belt because there weren't enough teams. So you're going to be forming that, and you're going to have pretty competitive group of teams, I think. So we'll get the official announcement. I believe it's going to be that announcement. That was the direction we were getting, that there's going to be an announcement tomorrow for men's soccer. It's probably going to be that men's soccer is formed, and it's going to be sponsored in the Sun Belt, which will be great. I think there'll be some opportunities there for fans to. I don't know how much you travel. I know for football it's once a week and you travel. I don't know how much the travel is as far as for fans of soccer. Do you see big crowds for soccer, or is it something that you would do if you had a Saturday and Coastal Carolina and Marshall were playing and it was at Coastal? Would you head on down Saturday to take in a game? Would you make that trip? Is it something that you would be interested in if there were teams that are closer? Well, the Sun Belt's going to afford you that opportunity. Again, I don't know if that's something you would do. I mean, I know Herd fans, if there's an opportunity, Herd fans like to travel. I don't know in what quantities, but we saw a pretty good group of fans head down to Cary, North Carolina for the national championship. I mean, Marshall took over. So why not do that on the road? If you're into soccer, you're a diehard soccer fan, head on the road. I mean, wouldn't that be something? You go into someone else's venue and you see like all of these Herd fans there. I mean, that would make a huge statement in itself. Like, whoa, they got more fans here than we do. That's something you want to see. You want to see like, whoa, maybe I want to play soccer for Marshall. Maybe I want to do that because look at their fans travel. I mean, that would be something. You could take that over. You could just like, hey, Marshall's coming in and they're bringing fans. We're not used to this. Some stadiums don't have that much capacity. It's a pitch and some bleachers. Some stadiums are really nice and some aren't. Marshall's is up there. It needs more seating capacity, but you got to also keep going to soccer matches to warrant that, to justify that upgrade and that expense. So we'll get into all of that. Michael Swan's coming up a little bit later on. We got some Coach Huff comments from practice yesterday. We're going to hear that, and we're going to get your phone calls in. We'll do all that when we continue with this edition of The Drive.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. Presented by Huntington Federal Savings Bank.
Welcome back to the Tuesday, April 5th edition. It's The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Yesterday was an opportunity to catch up with Marshall football coach Charles Huff. The Thundering Herd once again getting ready for the upcoming season. This part of the process, the spring practices, second week is underway, and we had to talk to him a little bit as well about the passing of Stan Parrish. For those of you maybe not as familiar with Stan Parrish, you're probably going to hear and see some things over the next couple of days to explain who he was. I think Chuck Landon, the columnist of Herald-Dispatch, had a nice mention of him and explanation of him in his piece for today. So I thought that Chuck laid it out. And, Chuck was around a lot more than most of us. Keith Morehouse was around a little bit longer, than some of us as well. So he had a nice piece, talking about it. I mean, if you are a Herd fan, you are probably in certain generations. A lot of people came to Marshall football after the success, started building the brand new stadium at the time, opening up in 1991. I mean, a new stadium, of course, brings a lot of excitement and it helps elevate the program. But how did Marshall get there? Well, and I think you have to, in some way, mention Sonny Randall. I mean, he means a lot to the university. His legacy continues on after his passing. He means something to the university. But I don't know if you can overlook what Coach Parrish did. I don't think you can. You have to start there. I mean, you can look at everything up to Coach Parrish, but Stan got it going. Stan got it really going. And you have to look at what he was able to do, which was able to bring in George Chomp, and look at what he was able to do, which then was able to bring in Jim Donnan, which you see what he was able to do, and then Bob Pruitt comes in, and you see what he's able to do. And it started just snowballing. It got bigger and bigger, and I think it really got kicked off by Coach Parrish. Now, yesterday, during his media availability, Coach Huff was asked about Coach Parrish, and he talked about him a little bit, and what he meant to the university. And of course, he put out a tweet earlier in the evening yesterday about Coach Parrish as well, so you can go read that. But he talked a little bit about what Coach Parrish did as he was setting it up for us yesterday.
Way to go, Josh! You ruined my afternoon tweet that was going to come out after this press conference. But I mean, I had it all scripted, and my wife proofread it, and I mean, it's really heartfelt. But so you ruined that. So, but yes, I think obviously very saddened, by the passing of Coach. I think when you look at the amount of people that one man touched, I think that says a lot for who he is as a person. Then when you look at what he did for Marshall, the first winning season, post plane crash and post Young Thundering Herd, I think he was a integral part of, us coming back and us, really stamping the world as, hey, we are back and we are Marshall. Obviously, he touched a lot of people's, hearts and emotions in this area. We have a lot of respect for him and his family. My condolences go out to his family. But whenever you have a man, a coach, a person who touches as many people as Coach did, when you lose them, it's a dark day. It's a day we all got to just take a deep breath and be thankful for the days we did have with him. Be thankful for what he's done for Marshall and this entire community and the entire Parrish family. We send our best and prayers and condolences, and thank you for allowing Coach to spend the time he did with the Marshall family.
Now, Coach tweeted out later, "We lost a great leader, coach, and an even better person. Our prayers and condolences are with the Parrish family. We are Marshall, part because of what Coach Parrish did for our program, university, and community. Rest easy, Coach. We will miss you, but we'll never forget you." And that is the tweet that Coach Huff put out after we were done with the media availability. Now, on to the football itself. It's week number 2. Coach was asked a little bit about what you're looking for in week number 2, and he talked a lot about some of the things that you saw that can be corrected. Week 1, you see what you got, what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong. Week 2, trying to be more consistent and correcting some of those mistakes.
Yeah, I think, we kind of look at our model as, each week is an exam. So on Saturday, we had our first exam, right? So we had a week of practice. We got a chance to do a little scrimmaging, not a full scrimmage, but a portion of it was live. So you kind of got an exam of what you learned the first week. Today, what we were trying to challenge the guys was to come back out and correct those things that we saw on film that needed correcting. And for the most part, I think we saw that. At least the guys were trying to do that. You start to see some of the things that you talk about in the meeting show up on the field, being corrected. You start to see a little more consistency. I think, again, with the group we have, the more we kind of rep the same plays, the more comfortable they get. Our defense does a really good job of mixing up looks. So a lot of we may run inside zone, but we may have to run it against 4 different fronts. Well, the more repetition we get against that, the more you start to see a little bit more success, a little bit more continuity. We saw a little bit of that today.
On to Saturday, of course, Coach talks about every week, the final practice of the week, that's sort of the exam. You're studying for the test, is what he was talking about. And you get to Saturday, you're sort of taking the exam. So he talked about what goes into and how he evaluates what he saw on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the D line is really disruptive. I mean, they're physical, they're strong, they're violent, they're knocking guys back. When they go forward, they got a chance to be really good. You also saw that there's some thinking going on with the younger guys at all positions, because you can call, they get 4 or 5 plays in a row, and if you call a play that they've repped multiple times, they play a lot faster than some things where they got to think a little bit. I think the quarterbacks took a step forward, not necessarily in execution, but understanding of we have to control and run and organize the unit when we're out there. As far as making sure guys are in the right alignment, making sure guys see the right signal, making sure we get checked into the right play. We made the quarterbacks live a little bit on Saturday, which is something that you normally don't do. But when you got young quarterbacks, I think sometimes they got to know that it's real football out here. And we saw some things, Cam was able to flash some things athletically, when we went live that you may not see when we're not live. Cade, stood in the pocket and made some big time throws, with guys beaming down on him. So those kind of things you don't necessarily get a chance to see. You also get a chance to see, especially some of these young guys. I think Jacoby Henderson is probably doing a really good job for us defensively. He's physical. He's not backing down. He steps up against, the Corey Gamages and the Taliks with the same confidence as he does, guys his age. So you saw a little bit of where we are from a physical growth maturity, if that makes sense. When you're going thud, it's easy to come in and say, "Ooh, I'd have tackled you," but when it's real life, it's different.
That's Coach Huff. We're going to hear more from him later on this hour. When we continue, we're going to talk to Michael Swan, the head coach of the Marshall women's soccer program. Some good news for soccer. It's going to be a good next couple of days for soccer, at least for the Marshall program. Tomorrow we're going to find out what officially the announcement is for the Sun Belt. And reason we're having Coach on today is because Marshall University's soccer midfielder Kat Gonzalez, she's been called up by the Dominican Republic women's soccer national team. So she's joining the roster for their upcoming 2023 World Cup qualifying matches. Coach will tell us more about that when we continue with this edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. Brought to you by Huntington Federal Savings Bank, the local bank that's here for every step of your life's journey. Member FDIC.
Welcome back to the Tuesday, April 5th edition. It's The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Going to be a big couple of days here for Marshall soccer, both on the men's and women's side. We're going to get that announcement from conference tomorrow from Sun Belt. I still want to say Conference USA. I've got until July 1st. That's when it's official. Let's talk women's soccer, though. Joining us on the program now, the head coach of the Marshall women's soccer team, Mr. Michael Swan. And back again because we've got some good news to talk about. Earlier today, it was announced that Kat Gonzalez, called up by the Dominican Republic women's soccer national team. She's going to join the roster for the 2023 World Cup qualifying matches. How exciting is that for you and for her?
Well, I think it's more exciting for Kat than anyone. I mean, we're delighted that she gets the opportunity, of course. But I was talking to her this morning. She's very excited. She's heading down to the Dominican as we speak, and she's over the moon. They're sitting in a good position to qualify, and it's amazing, and it's awesome for all of us to see that Kat's going to be involved in trying to get her national team to the biggest tournament in the world. So it's an amazing achievement by Kat.
What does that mean for your program to have someone that can make that leap, can join a national team and compete for a chance to play in the World Cup, what does that mean for you and the program?
For us, it's great for recruiting purposes. I mean, we go out and we watch as many young players as we can, and especially kids who are coming from the international side of things. They get exposed to a whole different perspective on soccer. When they come over to this country, a lot of eyes are on NCAA Division 1 soccer all over the world. So, you're going to see a lot of teams trying to pull players like Kat to go on and represent the nation. So for us as a university and us as a program, it's probably one of the best recruiting tools that we've had. I've got a good network with a lot of people who are doing this type of thing, and it was all set up about 6 months ago to 12 months ago when I talked with a representative and shared Kat's name, and that's what it's about. It's about giving our student athletes these experiences and these opportunities, and it's great for us to know that if we've got players that come in, that we're going to call them and get them to see if we can get them in their national team. So we'll do everything we can to help promote soccer within our program, and push our student athletes to be the best they can be.
Is it partially the exposure that Marshall's going to get for Kat being part of that team? Is there something that you can do? I mean, sure, can you put her on a flyer and send that out? I mean, I don't know, what the soccer recruiting game looks like compared to football, but what are some of the tangible things that you're able to do? Name mentioning, obviously.
Yeah, I mean the biggest thing, Paul, we all know is our social media. Our social media and marketing. Kat's kind of the face of Marshall soccer right now with this achievement, and it's like I said in the article. This is the highest achievement you can have as a soccer player to represent your team to go to the biggest tournament in the world, and Kat's doing that. So marketing wise, this is an unbelievable opportunity for us. And our program to just promote what we're trying to do with our women's soccer program. Yeah, we're rebuilding, but we're going to rebuild with players like Kat. We've got some other international players that have had some accolades along the way during their youth careers, and we'd love to see them bounce back too, and maybe represent their countries. Maybe not at the full level, but we'll start at the under 23s if we can do that. So. It's an amazing opportunity for the university, amazing opportunity for our program to showcase what we've got and what we're trying to do with our student athletes.
Michael Swan joins me, the head coach of the Marshall women's soccer team. The announcement earlier, Kat Gonzalez being called up by the Dominican Republic women's soccer national team, going to be joining the roster. 2023 World Cup qualifying matches are going to be huge, and I know for the world that the men's tournament is bigger, but I think for the United States, it seems like the women's tournament might be where we all gravitate to because of the success of the United States national team. So you're going to get a really big pop off of this. Anything you can do, it's just probably going to benefit you more than say Chris Grassi if you look at it, because women's soccer in the United States seems to you have more talent to be able to go after. Yeah, the talent pool is greater. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, traditionally, the women's soccer in the world has been the powerhouse, for 20 years now. Now, a lot of the world is catching up. The pro leagues overseas are getting stronger. The American-based players are going overseas to actually play some higher level of competition, but it's kind of like a seesaw. It always moves back and forth. So you'll have players that go overseas and then they come back because the league picks up again. But for the US, the women's soccer team, they've got the best opportunity to win a World Cup. I mean, they've won it in the past. They're probably favourites to win it again. I look at it and think, wow, what if we've got a playing against the women's national team at the World Cup? That's going to be outstanding. For her family, and for us as well, and for Marshall. It's one of those things that you kind of like a Cinderella story, and if they go on to beat them, that would be fantastic as well. An amazing story. So, we just hope Kat makes it. And I can't speak volumes of women's soccer in the US and what they've done for US soccer in the US. It's growing. It's getting stronger. I just spent 4 days in Arizona watching the highest league in the country play, the youth league, and the soccer that we watched and witnessed was outstanding. So, that's what it's all about, is getting exposure, getting the development of the players, so they can go on to have stellar careers and then keep building a strong U.S. women's soccer program.
Michael Swan, my guest. The Marshall women have some great news. Kat Gonzalez being called up by the Dominican Republic team, going to be competing for the opportunity to go to the World Cup. And, of course, we're getting the news that tomorrow we're going to find out more about men's soccer and the Sun Belt. How are you feeling about everything so far? It just feels like all of a sudden Sun Belt is a soccer conference all of a sudden.
Yeah. Men's soccer is I believe just kind of transitioning a lot of the powerhouses over into conference. I almost said a two-pole Conference USA, from Conference USA into the Sun Belt. So their league's going to be outstanding. What we've got now on the women's side is we're trying to do exactly the same and get multi teams into the NCAA tournament. We've added, ourselves, James Madison, Old Dominion, and then you couple that with the Georgia teams and the Alabama teams that have been traditionally the Sun Belt powerhouses over the years. So we're looking at a conference that's going to be one of the strongest outside the top, the Power Five. And once you get that and you get the schedule right, you've got an opportunity to get multi teams in the tournament.
Michael Swan, my guest. The women's soccer team celebrating Kat Gonzalez, and of course, we're going to see the Sun Belt turn into this really powerhouse conference. I hope for you. I know we've talked recently, and you were with me last week, and we've talked, and I'm asking all the coaches about, hey, what are you guys talking to the athletic director about? I know you've been asked that several times. How are you feeling right now about where you're at, and where your team's at? I know you've had some time to at least evaluate. We still got a long way to go, but how are you feeling right now with everything that's going on, and how your team's performing for you so far?
Well, the spring's about giving players an opportunity to show what they've got. We come in August 1 and it's games. There's not much time for development. So this spring's really been, an opportunity to see a lot of the younger players get on the field and showcase what they have. The last 6 months has been the first opportunity for us to really, for me, to get out and recruit as a Marshall coach, simply because we were restricted by COVID, and we haven't been able to do that. So, we're still evaluating the program right now. I would say in the next 12 to 16 months, the recruiting that we've done is going to be coming onto campus, and they're going to make it's having a more balanced squad, having a squad that it's able to compete, that's been playing at the highest level. So, the spring is basically to build and see, what can we do moving forward in August. And that's what we've been evaluating. So, right now I would say, we've turned a corner, and we're coming around the corner pretty fast, where 12 months ago we were coming around that corner really slow. And then now it's taking the next step to get them back in August and, see what we can do in the conference. We're not primed to win it. I'll be honest, we're not primed to win it by any means, but having players like Kat go off and get these experiences can only make us stronger. So, it's kind of in the hands of the players to come back with a winning mentality, a shift in mentality, and, that's what we're here to do.
Michael Swan, my guest. Hey, we should do this more often. You've been on, twice now within a week time frame? We should do this more often.
Yeah, sure. Love to.
Good talking to you again. We will do it soon, and I'm looking forward to the fall here. I'm looking forward to the next few months. This is going to be good. I think we're going to have fun this. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I can't believe we're not talking about the big game in men's soccer, though, coming up in the winter, England versus the USA. Do
you want to talk about that? I didn't know if that was something that you really wanted to speak to. I mean, it's going to be embarrassing when the USA beats England. I mean, it's going to be embarrassing for you. So do you want to go there? We'll do it.
Let's talk about it after the game. How about that?
Okay. I mean, if you're willing to come on after that, I mean, it's going to be like it's going to be a blowout. It's going to be 1-0.
Oh, 1-1. Oh, 0-0.
No ties. No ties.
Yeah.
I do not accept that. Was the last time the two teams met? It was a tie, right?
Yes. We scored 2. Our goalkeeper scored 1 for you, and we scored 1 for ourselves. So, but looking forward to that. Obviously, the World Cup. We get an opportunity to have 2 World Cups in the space of a year, and that's going to be unbelievable for the sport.
Hey, I'm excited. only because I get to talk trash to you and Chris.
Well, Chris is technically American.
Okay,
With his
technically,
citizenship, so we'll find out who he's cheering for.
Right.
We're
going to find out. You know who's going to cheer for?
Who's that?
The winner.
Of course he is. It's a win-win.
He's going to take the winner. It's like Team USA wins. Oh yeah, I'm all for it. I'm all for Team USA. USA
Absolutely.
Loses. Yeah, England all the way.
Well, what I hope is both teams get out the group and they go on to, great things in the World Cup as well. So, I'm cheering for 4 teams in the World Cups, both men's and women's. USA men, England men, USA women, and the Dominican Republic women. So hopefully they can all make it.
Right, I'm with you there. I'm with you there. Good talking to you. We'll catch back up. We'll revisit this again.
Sounds good. Appreciate it.
Michael Swan, my guest. Talking a little already. World Cup soccer trash talk already going on here. We're gonna take our break, come back. We're gonna hear a little bit more from Coach Huff. Yesterday's comments from practice. We'll get your phone calls and text in. We'll do that coming up next segment as well. And you can join us by calling 877-420-TALK. That is 877-420-8255. You can find me on Twitter at Paul Swann. And while you're there, if you would give me a follow, I would appreciate it. I was told today that I'm allowed to beg for Twitter followers by someone because I'm likable and I can get away with it. So if you would help me increase the Twitter followers, that would be fantastic. That would help me out immensely, and maybe I can leverage that into something. Also, you can text the program 304-523-2275, 304-523-2275. More coming up on this edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. Presented by Huntington Federal Savings Bank.
Let's get you caught up on baseball. Marshall was in action earlier today against Virginia Tech, and the Hokies did the Thundering Herd in 6-2. Marshall trailed 3-0 after the first inning. Marshall could not overcome. Back in action tomorrow, heading to Morgantown to take on the Mountaineers at 3 p.m. Will we see a repeat of what happened when West Virginia was in Huntington, or will Marshall be able to make it a little bit more competitive? You tell me. You can tweet at Paul Swann, or you can text 304-523. Are you ready for this? Are you ready for this? 2275, 304-523. 2275. Who do you like tomorrow? You think the Herd's got a shot, or you think Marshall going to get beat again by West Virginia? WVU is a pretty good team right now. They're a pretty good program. Marshall, I'll give Marshall credit, though. Marshall hasn't just been blown out. Marshall just hasn't been beaten into submission. I'll give them that. They're a fighting team. Let's just say that. They're a fighting team right now. They're putting some fight into it. Maybe not the result you want, but they're a fighting team right now. Let's get back to Coach Huff. I asked him yesterday if he could talk a little bit about maybe who would deserve Coach Huff's Player of the Week. Coach said he didn't really do stuff like that, but he did talk about who were some of the players that really stood out to him.
Probably, if I would say the defense probably had a better day if you throw it into that. I think when you get into players of the week and players of the day, when you are strictly talking about the team portion of it, right? Because we do players of the day when we do fourth quarter conditioning, but that's an individual drill. Like you are running around the cones, you are running the sprints. When we talk about a team portion, Stephen Gilmore is probably going to do his job 90% of the time, and the ball may never come to him. So if I give it to Jacoby, does that mean Gilmore didn't have a good? Does that kind of make sense? So when we get into team stuff, we try and limit that. But I would say the defense probably had a really good day. They were violent. They were knocking guys back. It took us kind of manufacturing some plays to actually move the ball, which is good. Now, and as the head coach, you're also responsible for the offense too. So it's not good, but defense had a good day. They did. And offense made some plays, but if you just look totality, I think defense really did a good job.
I think I would be happy with the defense being ahead of the offense right now, especially since the offense has got to learn a little bit more. You've got younger quarterbacks in that position. You're getting them reps. You're getting them experience. You're teaching them what to do and how to do it. You're finding out what you've got there. So I would be happy that the defense would be maybe ahead right now because they're going to keep you in a lot of games until you figure out offense. I would rather try to figure out, and again, this is just me. I'm not paid to be a head coach. I am not paid to run a football program, but I would hope that my defense would be there. You got to work on the offense, though, and that is fair evaluation. You have to work on the offense. Now, one of the things he was asked about to talk about was how that tight end room was progressing. Here's what he had to say.
Yeah, Devin is probably as steady as they come, man. I mean, if we had a team full of Devin Millers, we'd be the most consistent team in America. We may not win every game, but we would be pretty daggone consistent. He punches the clock. He comes in every day. He does the little things that, a 6-year guy, does. The top of the routes, he's able to kind of create a little space. He's able to make the tough catch across the middle. He's gritty enough to block in the box, some of those things. Velez has really done some things and really impressed us, as a new guy coming in. He's physical. He's got a great size. He's one of those guys where if he knows what to do, he's impressive. And he's a lot more athletic than you would think for his size. So he's been a guy that's done well. And Amir is continuing to work. He's a guy that's probably in that in between, tight end, kind of, not fullback, but, kind of sniffer position guy. That creates a little bit of flexibility for us in the pass game. So they've done a really good job. Really impressed with Devin and Velez as far as guys that kind of stand out so far.
Another position, we were just talking about the offense, had to manufacture some things. Marshall defense is looking pretty good right now. But one of the things that you've got to take into account is you got some youth back there, but you should have some experience up front. And so Coach was asked to talk a little bit about how that O-line is up front, out there, helping those quarterbacks along, and this is what he had to say.
Yeah, I think, all of those guys up front, knowing that the quarterbacks are young, have done a really good job of treating them kind of like the big brother, where they'll turn around and say, hey, louder, or hey, we can't hear you, or hey, get it together, or hey, good play. And I think after a couple of days, the quarterbacks may have been a little scared when, Dalton turns around at 6'8" and says louder in a real loud voice, and he's breathing heavy and he's got his stomach out. But after you get going, they kind of know, hey, these guys are going to protect me and fight for me. I can trust these guys. And you're starting to see that a little bit, especially with Cam. You're starting to see, I can trust these guys. I can trust these guys are going to do what they're supposed to do. If I can get these guys right on the same page, they're going to do a good job for me. So it's been a little big brother, little brother, mentality, which is good. We all got to make sure we kind of, give our little brother a little noogie every now and then on the top of the head, and they've done that. But they've also gone behind him and slapped him on the tail and said, hey, good play. So I think it's helping with the maturity. It's helping with the communication, from O-line to quarterback. So it's going in the right direction.
That's Coach Huff talking about that offensive line. And finally, something that is not directly Marshall related, but it does help and it does really feed into the program was, over the weekend, Marshall had a coaches clinic, and it was pretty cool. I saw some of the photos from that. You saw a lot of coaches coming in, and that's one way that Marshall football can start maybe building up some relationships, having coaches come in from the area, have students come in from the area as well, kind of see what Marshall football is all about, where it's going, how it's improving. Maybe this is going to turn into a great recruit coming to Marshall because of some relationships being built here. But Coach talked a little bit about that. I mean, it's pretty good to have some of these guys here, and not necessarily here just to hear the speaker. Coach talked about bringing Vince Lombardi in. That would be impressive if he could, but since he doesn't have that ability, you got to make it up in some other ways and some substance as well.
Really good. I think we had 50-plus coaches here from all over this state and the tri-state area. It was really good. And, last year we didn't really get a chance to do it because of COVID. This year, we don't have the resources to bring in, Vince Lombardi and let him, speak to the group. And, everybody comes really to hear the speaker and not ball. I think this was really hands-on. I think the coaches that came to the clinic really got some, hands-on, information, not just clinic talk. They got really to get a behind-the-scenes look. We hung out Friday night. We had, a former player speak, which was phenomenal. Then they came right back Saturday morning and watched practice. So I think it's good. We want to continue to build on it. But you talk about the relationships here in the area. That's key, right? They may not have a player that comes to Marshall every year or a player that goes, Division I every year, but the relationships are something that should be there every day. Does that make sense? Regardless of whether this guy's got a player or not. And that's one of the things myself and the staff want to do, especially with the coaches here in our area. There are a lot of good football coaches here. I was talking to some of the guys, getting some information. Hey, how do you run this? How do you block this? So we've got some good coaches in the area. We just got to continue to mine those relationships so that, it's not always about a player, and what can you do for me? It's about just genuine relationships.
Coach Huff, talking about those relationships, trying to form those with some of the area coaches, bringing them in, letting them experience herd football, kind of see the facilities. I'm sure for some, maybe haven't seen some of the renovations that have happened to the Shoey. If you haven't been in there, it's a lot fresher. It's definitely a lot fresher. They've put some energy into making the Shoey more inviting. I like the cleanness of it. Just I would want to do that for the Henderson Center. It's like white everywhere. Just have white everywhere. Kelly green seats. Everything else, trim it in green, but Kelly green seats, trim the rails in green. You got to see them, and then have everything else white. Maybe a little black accent. That would be, I think, if you do it, that would be really fantastic to look at. Just have this vivid white. It would brighten the Henderson Center up. You know what else the Henderson Center needs? Air conditioning. So what am I going to get first? Paint or air conditioning? I'm sure they'll go with no more paint for a while. Let's get some air conditioning here in the Henderson Center. All right, that's going to do it for this edition. Went by pretty quick. Back tomorrow. Tony Kemper on the show. Thursday, baseball. Friday, back. So taking Thursday off, at least the show part. We won't be here on Thursday due to opening day. Pirates baseball right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Thanks for Michael Swan joining us on the program today. For our producer, Ryan Sirk, I'm Paul Swann. This has been The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
WRBC Huntington, W231BS Huntington, broadcasting from the Oscars Breakfast Burgers and Brew Studios. This is ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.